My mother-in-law called my daughter a mistake and refused to hold her. My husband, Raj, 33, and I, Anna, 31, have been married for 3 years, together for 5. He is Gujarati Indian, born and raised in London. I am Scottish, from Edinburgh. Our worlds blended beautifully, or so I thought. Raj's mother, Nina, was a force of nature, elegant, sharp, and initially incredibly welcoming to me. She adored Raj, her only child, and when we announced my pregnancy, her joy seemed boundless. She knitted tiny booties, filled our kitchen with homemade dhepla, and spoke constantly of teaching her grandchild about our shared heritage, though my side was often politely glossed over. Our son, Arjun, now 2, is a beautiful blend, his skin a warm olive tone like his father's, with my hazel eyes. Nina was ecstatic. She was there in the waiting room when he was born, and from that moment, she became a doting, if sometimes overbearing, Dottie. When I became pregnant again, her focus intensified. Throughout the pregnancy, she would gently pat my belly and say, "This one will be a girl, my little Ronnie." She had already chosen the name Kavya. Raj and I had other ideas. We wanted a name that worked seamlessly in both cultures, something like Maya or Leela, but Nina was undeterred. "Kavya," she would repeat with a serene smile. "It is decided." Raj, ever the pragmatist, was wary. "We'll name our child what we want, Mum," he told her gently but firmly. She would wave him off. "You'll see. It's perfect for her." I felt a growing unease. With Arjun, it felt like a collaboration. With this pregnancy, it felt like an acquisition. Our daughter was born after a long, difficult labor. The moment she was placed in my arms, I saw it. She was unmistakably the image of my late grandmother. Pale, almost porcelain skin, a shock of fine copper-red hair, and the brightest blue eyes. She was breathtaking. Raj kissed my forehead, his own eyes wide with wonder. "She's a proper little Scot," he whispered, laughing softly. We named her Ishbel, a Scottish form of Elizabeth, with the middle name Kieran, Ray of Light, as a nod to Raj's heritage. We called our parents to share the news and the name. My parents wept with joy. Nina was silent for a beat too long before saying, "We will discuss this when I see her." We had instituted a 2-week baby moon period with Arjun, and we did the same with Ishbel. Nina was furious. The daily texts and calls became passive-aggressive. "A grandmother's love cannot be scheduled, Beta. Does she even look like our family?" Raj handled it, insisting we needed time to bond as a family of 4. The day of the visit arrived. Nina came alone, dressed in a beautiful silk sari, carrying a bag of gifts. She cooed over Arjun, then turned to me where I sat on the sofa, Ishbel swaddled in my arms. Her expectant smile was radiant. "Let me see my Kavya," she said, arms outstretched. I took a steadying breath. "Her name is Ishbel, Mum. Ishbel Kieran." The smile didn't falter, but it hardened at the edges. "We shall see. Let me look at her." I carefully handed over our sleeping daughter. Nina looked down. The change was not instantaneous. It was a slow, chilling transformation. The delight drained from her face, replaced by confusion, then disbelief, then something cold and grim. She stared at the red hair, the milky skin, the tiny features that held no trace of her son. Her head snapped up, her eyes locking onto Raj, then onto me. "What is this?" Her voice was low, dangerous. "Mom, she's beautiful," Raj said, stepping closer. "This is not your child." The words were flat, absolute. The air left the room. "Nina, don't be ridiculous," I managed, my voice trembling. "Ridiculous?" She laughed, a harsh, brittle sound. "Look at her. She is a ghost. Where's my granddaughter?" The one who looks like her father? Like me? She thrust Ishbel back toward me as if the baby were contaminated. Ishbel, disturbed, began to whimper. Mum, genetics are complex. Raj tried, his voice tight with controlled anger. My friend Sunil's son was born with red hair from his Punjabi side. Anna's grandmother had red hair. This is perfectly normal. Normal? Nina's composure shattered. This is not normal. This is a mistake. A trick of nature. She was shouting now, pointing a shaking finger at Ishbel. That child does not belong in this family. What have you done? The last question was aimed squarely at me, laden with a venomous implication. I felt frozen, clutching my crying daughter to my chest. Arjun, sensing the tension, started to cry too. The room was a cacophony of wails and accusations. Get out! Raj's voice cut through the noise, quiet and deadly calm. Get out of my house. Now! Nina looked at him, stunned. Raj! Out! You do not speak to my wife that way. You do not call my daughter a mistake. Get out and do not come back until you can apologize from the very bottom of your soul. She left without another word, the slam of the door echoing in the sudden, painful quiet. The weeks that followed were a fog of hurt and rage. Raj was my rock, furious and heartbroken in equal measure. He spoke to his father, who was apologetic but weak, saying Nina was struggling with the shock. She refused to speak to Raj directly for a week, then began sending long, guilt-laden texts about family duty, about how she was just protecting him, about how the community would talk. She never outright repeated the infidelity accusation, but she circled it, talking of unexpected traits and confusion. She demanded a paternity test. For all our peace of mind, she wrote. Raj was adamant. We're not doing a test. It would legitimize her insanity. I know she is mine. You know she is mine. That is the end of it. But the pressure mounted. His father called, pleading for harmony. Distant aunts sent vague messages about forgiveness. The wall of family expectation was closing in. My own parents, livid and supportive from afar, begged us not to give in. But I saw the toll it was taking on Raj. He loved his mother, despite everything. And a selfish, wounded part of me had wanted her to love Ishbel, to be the involved grandmother I dreamed of for my daughter. One night, after Ishbel's 2-month checkup, Raj held me as I cried. I hate this, I sobbed. I hate that she's stolen this pure joy from us. I hate that I look at Ishbel and feel a pang of hurt because of her. He was quiet for a long time. What if we did the test? He finally said, his voice thick. Not for her. For us. To shut the door on this forever. To have the piece of paper we can literally throw at her face if she ever mentions it again. And then we decide what relationship, if any, she gets to have. The idea felt like a surrender. It felt like admitting there was a question to be answered. But it also felt like a potential weapon, a way to end the siege. We argued, we cried, we talked in circles. Finally, exhausted, we agreed. We ordered a discreet, legal-grade paternity test kit. The day we swabbed Ishbel's tiny cheek, I felt profound shame. My beautiful, innocent baby was being subjected to this because of an old woman's bigotry and fantasy. The results came back 2 weeks later, a formal PDF document. Probability of paternity, 99.9999%. Raj was, unequivocally, Ishbel's father. I printed 2 copies. One we framed in a beautiful silver frame and hung in Ishbel's nursery, a private monument to our truth. The other we left on the kitchen table. Raj invited his parents over. He was clear, only if they both came. When they arrived, the atmosphere was glacial. Nina looked older, drawn, but her chin was still held high with defiant pride. She did not look at me or the baby carrier, where Ishbel slept. "Sit down," Raj said. He didn't offer tea. He picked up the envelope from the table and slid the single sheet of paper across the wooden surface to his mother. She picked it up, her hands trembling slightly. She read it. Once. Twice. The color drained from her face, leaving her a sickly gray. For a full minute, she said nothing. Then a small, broken sound escaped her. It wasn't a word. It was the sound of a worldview shattering. She looked up at Raj, her eyes brimming with a horror that was finally directed inward. "My son, No." Raj interrupted, his voice not unkind but utterly firm. "You do not speak to me yet. You will look at my wife, and you will look at my daughter, and you will apologize to them, to Anna, for accusing her of the worst betrayal imaginable, and to Ishbel for rejecting her, for calling her a mistake, for denying her the love of her grandmother from the moment she entered this world." The silence was heavy. His father looked at the floor. Nina's gaze, filled with storm of shame, finally lifted and met mine. I held it, letting her see all my pain, my anger, my disappointment. "Anna," she whispered, the word ragged. I am a foolish old woman. My mind, it was trapped in a story. I wanted fantasy so badly I let it poison my heart. I have done you a terrible, terrible wrong. There is no excuse. You have been nothing but a good wife and mother. Can you ever forgive me?" Tears streamed down her face, genuine and unchecked. Then she turned to the carrier. She knelt, with difficulty, on the floor beside it, looking at Ishbel, who was now awake and staring calmly with her big blue eyes. "My precious girl," Nina wept. "My Ishbel, your name is perfect. You are perfect. I have missed the first months of your life because of my own blindness. I am so sorry. I do not deserve your smile, but I will spend every day I have left trying to earn a place in your life." It was the apology I had wanted. It was raw, specific, and took full accountability. And yet, hearing it, I felt no sudden warmth, no magical forgiveness. The wound was too deep. I saw Raj watching me, letting me take the lead. "Thank you for your apology, Nina," I said, my voice steady. "I accept it. But acceptance is not the same as trust. You broke something fundamental. You showed us that your love for your grandchild is conditional on her appearance meeting your expectations. That is a truth we cannot unknow." She flinched but nodded, still kneeling. "You will have a relationship with Ishbel and with Arjun," I continued, "but it will be on our terms. It will be supervised, always, for foreseeable future. You will come here to visit. You will not make comments about her hair, her skin, or her name. You will not perform sudden, overwhelming gestures of Indian culture to claim her. If, over the course of years, you prove through consistent, respectful, and unconditional love that this was a monstrous one-time error in judgment, then things may change. But that is a privilege you must earn, not a right you can demand." She bowed her head. "It is more than I deserve. Thank you." Raj helped his mother to her feet. He hugged his father, who mumbled his own apologies. The visit ended shortly after, with a promise for a brief, supervised visit the following week. That was 6 months ago. The road has been slow and careful. Nina comes every Sunday afternoon for 2 hours. She brings simple gifts, books, soft toys. She reads to Arjun. She holds Ishbel, and now she smiles at her coppery curls, calling them sunshine threads. She has kept every rule. The change in her seems real, humble, penitent. Last week, as she was leaving, she handed me a small wrapped package. "Not for the baby. For you," she said softly. Inside was a vintage silver locket. On one side was a tiny, beautifully engraved thistle, Scotland's flower. On the other, a lotus, symbolic in Indian culture. For the two mothers of your children, she said simply, the one who made you and the one who is trying so hard to do better. I clasped it around my neck. It didn't fix everything. The memory of her shrieking mistake will likely always ache, but it felt like a beginning, a fragile, carefully built bridge over a chasm of hurt. Ishbel, now babbling and joyful, reached for the shiny locket. Nina didn't grab her hand. She just smiled, her eyes soft, and waited for my permission. I nodded. She gently let Ishbel's tiny fingers close over the silver. Yes, my Ronnie, she whispered, using the old, cherished nickname, but now it felt like a term of endearment, not an imposition. Your locket, your story, all of it. Raj's hand found mine, and we watched them, our pale, red-haired daughter and her grandmother, who was finally learning to see her. The path ahead wasn't perfect, but it was ours, and it was finally peaceful.